What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got some big news for Marvel Champions. And when I say big news, that's no exaggeration. It's huge! The X-Men are coming! The X-Men are finally coming to Marvel Champions. It took a while, but we're finally getting them. Mutant Genesis, long rumoured, is finally been officially revealed. And I'm a little bit weirded out because I just assumed this was going to be revealed at Gen Con, but they dropped it early and there are no complaints from me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is the most exciting announcement they've had for me personally. I said that with sinister motives and I meant it. I love me some X-Men, but not as much as I love me some Spider-Man. However, I watched the X-Men cartoon obsessively when I was a kid. I've been watching all the movies. I've been reading Marvel comic books for a decade, and X-Men have been some of the most I've read. You better believe I'm excited for Mutant Genesis. Once again, we've got a usual big box expansion. We've got ourselves 5 new scenarios, 2 new heroes. There's a lot to talk about, so let's start off with Sabretooth. And it's all about saving Robert Kelly. So Robert Kelly is an ally, 9 health, can't attack, can't thwart. The first player controls Robert Kelly, doesn't count to your ally limit, cannot have player cards attached, and when an enemy resolves an undefended attack against you, that damage is dealt to Robert Kelly instead, i.e. get defending. Now Sabretooth's got 1 scheme, 2 attack, 13 hit points, but after Sabretooth activates against you, you discard the top card of the encounter deck, and heal damage from Sabretooth equal to the number of boost icons discarded in this way. Yes, it's annoying, but Sabretooth heals, that's what he does. You've then got the scheme Stalked by Sabretooth. After resolving step 1 of the villain phase, that is the threat being put on, deal 2 damage to Robert Kelly, or 3 damage if there are at least 6 threat on the Stalked by Sabretooth scheme. While Robert Kelly is attached to Find the Senator, treat his deck box as if it were blank. So basically the whole scheme is Sabretooth dealing damage to Robert Kelly and you've got to try and stop it. Now Find the Senator is a crisis side scheme. Robert Kelly cannot be healed by player card effects and cannot have upgrades attached. And when defeated, the first player detaches Robert Kelly from the scheme and takes control of him, and you advance to main scheme 2A, flip this card and place it next to the main scheme. Now, when you flip it, you get Protect the Senator, at which point it becomes an environment card. Robert Kelly cannot be healed by player card effects and cannot have upgrades attached. And after your hero defends against an attack from Sabretooth, and remember you've got to because undefended attacks go on to Robert Kelly, spend 2 resources of any type, ready your hero. Yeah, this one looks kind of stressful, honestly. Sabretooth keeps healing and attacking Robert Kelly, and you've got to keep defending and trying to take down Sabretooth while he's healing. This looks fun. The second scenario, you find yourself up against Sentinels. Come on, it's the X-Men box. You knew there were going to be Sentinels. And we start off with Sentinel, 2 scheme, 2 attack, 16 hit points, and toughness. And when it's revealed, the first player searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a copy of the Abduction Protocol side scheme and reveals it. Sentinel stealing X-Men? Yes, obviously. Now, Abduction Protocols as a side scheme has Hinder 2 and Victory 2. So yeah, it gives you victory points, but it also puts threat on the scheme when you get it. Brilliant. When defeated, the player who defeated this scheme takes a random set-aside captive ally and puts it into play under their control. And it's only a 2-threat side scheme, although admittedly it's got Hinder 2, which is kind of annoying. You defeat it, you get some allies, which is nice. Who could you get? Well, we've been shown some examples like Boom Boom. 1 thwart, 1 attack, taking a consequential damage each time. 2 cost, 3 health. After Boom Boom attacks an enemy, place a bomb counter on it. At the end of the player phase, remove all bomb counters from play and deal 2 damage to each enemy for each bomb counter removed from it in this way. Yeah, that's going to deal a lot more than that 1 attack that it says. Or Cannonball, 1 thwart, 2 attack, taking a consequential damage each time, 3 health, and Cannonball takes 1 less consequential damage after he attacks and defeats a minion. So 2 attack and you only take consequential damage if you don't defeat them? Yes! That sounds really good for taking out small minions. Now, the main scheme is Night of the Sentinels, and Operation Zero Tolerance gains permanent. We'll get that in a minute. We'll get there, don't worry. And there's a forced response after threat is placed here. If there is at least 5 threat per player, the first player takes the top card of their deck face down and puts it under Operation Zero Tolerance. Then you remove 5 threat from this scheme, and round we go. You're not losing because scheme builds up here. In the same way that with Sabretooth, you're not losing because scheme builds up. Sabretooth is all about trying to get Robert Kelly. That totally tracks. Night of the Sentinels is all about trying to capture X-Men, and that totally tracks. So Operation Zero Tolerance has a forced response. After an enemy attacks and defeats an ally, place that ally face down under this scheme. If there are X face down cards under this scheme, that is 3 more than the total number of players, that's 4 in a 1-player game, 5 in a 2-player game, and so on, you lose the game. So anytime an enemy attacks and defeats an ally, goes under. Anytime there's 5 threat on the main scheme, this card goes under, and then you're building up to lose. But after that, we get to the third scenario, that is Master Mold, obviously. 1 scheme, 2 attack, 12 hit points with Stalwart and Toughness, so it can't be confused, and it can't be stunned, but it has Toughness. Seems a bit harsh. When Master Mold schemes against you, discard cards from the encounter deck until a Sentinel minion is discarded. Put that minion into play engaged with you. Do not give Master Mold a boost card for this activation. So the good news is you're not dealing with boost cards. The bad news is every time Master Mold schemes against you, a minion is being put into play. But then again, it's Master Mold. Of course, more minions are being put into play. Now, the main scheme is the Sentinel Factory. Each Sentinel minion gains guard, i.e. you can't attack Master Mold, you've got to go after the Sentinels. And when revealed, each player discards cards from the encounter deck until they discard a Sentinel minion, then puts them in play engaged with them. So basically, there's going to be minions coming out left, right, and centre. And don't forget that when the encounter deck runs out of cards, an acceleration token goes on, which is going to make things worse and worse as time goes by. But you've got to keep taking out Sentinels before you can even hit Master Mold. That is going to add up a lot. Unit Upgrade is an attachment here. 1 scheme, 1 attack. Attached to a Sentinel minion, otherwise it gains Surge, and the attached minion gets +2 hit points and Retaliate 1 in addition to the +1 scheme and +1 attack. Yeah, it makes your Sentinels way better. Or maybe Stun Beam, +1 attack. You attach it to a Sentinel minion without Stun Beam attacked, otherwise it gets surged. After the attached minion attacks and damages a character, stun them. These are going to add up. What kind of Sentinels have we got? Well, Mark II has 1 scheme, 2 attack, 2 health, and if Operation Zero Tolerance is in play, you gain Surge. If Operation Zero Tolerance is not in play, search at the encounter deck and discard pile for it, and reveal it. That seems mean. And then we got Mark VI, which is 2 scheme, 2 attack, 6 health, but with Quick Strike, which again is pretty harsh. Or as a boost, if targeted for elimination is attached to an identity, deal this card to that player as a face-down encounter card. Now, Energy Barrier, you attach to a Sentinel minion without Energy Barrier attached and give it a tough status card, otherwise it gains Surge, +2 attack and the tough status card, and after the attacks, you give it a tough status card, so it's going to continually have tough while having +2 attack. It's not just that you've got to keep going through these Sentinels, it's that they keep getting buffed. Oh, I mentioned targeted for elimination a minute ago. It's an attachment that you attach to your identity if they don't already have one. And while you are engaged with a Sentinel minion, you cannot change from hero to alter ego, though you can exhaust your identity to discard this card. Yeah, that's going to get annoying. Then you move on to face the Brotherhood, and what we've got here, like we've seen before, is we've basically got 4 villains that you're going to be facing as a group. So, starting off then, we've got Avalanche, 2 scheme, 3 attack, 15 hit points, with toughness and victory 2. Forced response, after Avalanche attacks you, exhaust an ally you control. That's going to get annoying, because allies are useful. Blob has 1 scheme, 2 attack, 16 hit points. It's Blob. with toughness and victory 2, and after blob attacks and damages a character, you stun them. Pyro's got 2 schemes, 0 attack, 14 hit points, with toughness and victory 2, and after Pyro attacks you, discard the top 2 cards of your deck, take 1 indirect damage for each printed resource icon discarded this way. So no standard attack there, but lots of indirect damage, which is more annoying and could potentially be very high. Yeah, that could be 6 if you're unlucky. And then Toad's got 2 scheme, 2 attack, and again, toughness and victory 2. And after Toad attacks and damages a character you control, discard a random card from your hand. That's annoying. Yeah, these guys they're gonna add up. Now, the main scheme here is the Brotherhood strikes. When revealed, deal each player a face-down encounter card, advance to the next card in the main scheme deck, and add this card to the victory display. We've then got Save the School and Environment after the villain is defeated. If there are X villains in the victory display, the player wins the game. I'm assuming here, although it doesn't say, I'm assuming X is the number of players. So in a 4-player game, you've got to take down all 4 of the Brotherhood. In a 1-player game, just 1 of them. Otherwise, you deal each player an encounter card and reveal the next villain. If a minion with the same title as the new villain is engaged with a player, discard that minion, and the villain activates against the player. So, there's a bit of a penalty there if you do have to get rid of a minion. So yeah, you're basically facing random of these 4 Brotherhood, and oh yeah, there's 4 main schemes, because you're fighting the Brotherhood in the school, so there are 4 different places where the fight could happen, and thematically, I adore this. So the Atrium, each character gains steady. That is to say, you need 2 stunned or confused status cards to be stunned or confused. When completed, add it to the victory display and advance to the next card in the main scheme deck. If there are 3 main schemes in the victory display, the player loses the game. So we've got 4 of them here. If 3 of them end up in the victory display, you lose. The Cafeteria, same stats, but each character gains Retaliate 1. The Basketball Court, same, but each ally and minion gain toughness. You don't. And the Courtyard, each character gains +1 attack, and that is, good and bad guys. And again, all of them say, as soon as 3 hit the victory display, you lose. How fun does that sound? And then your final scenario here is Magneto. 2 scheme, 2 attack, 18 hit points with steady and toughness. So it's going to take a lot to get through Magneto. But after Magneto attacks you, you place 1 magnet counter on the main scheme. What does that mean? Well, after you place a magnet counter, that's Asteroid M, if there are at least 3 magnet counters, discard cards from the encounter deck until a magnetic card is discarded, reveal it, and remove 3 magnet counters from the scheme. Basically, it's a way for Magneto to play extra cards and also run through the encounter deck so you get closer to those acceleration tokens. Magnetic Bubble is an attachment that goes on Magneto and gives him Retaliate 1. And when Magneto would take any amount of damage, you put it on the bubble, and then discard it if there's 8 or more damage on there. Wrapped in Metal is a attachment, and both Magnetic Bubble and Wrapped in Metal are magnetic, as you probably guessed. You attach it to your identity, and the identity cannot thwart, attack, defend, or recover. So what you have to do is exhaust your identity and spend a physical resource to discard it. Electromagnetic Blast is a magnetic treachery, exhaust each upgrade and support you control, and then place a magnet counter on the main scheme, which is harsh because then there's only 2 more magnet counters needed to get the next magnetic card. So yeah, Magneto's going to add up pretty gosh darn quickly. You're going to be fending off lots of extra cards. We then finish off with your 2 heroes, who are Colossus and Shadowcat. And I'm going to be honest with you, Shadowcat looks fun, Colossus looks amazing, and I'm super excited. Now, Peter Rasputin, 4 recovery, 14 hit points. During setup, search your deck for a copy of Organic Steel and add it to your hand. And then you've got a response after you change to Alter Ego form. Shuffle any Colossus card you like from your discard pile into your deck. Now, Organic Steel is a 2-cost upgrade that uses 2 steel counters. After a tough status card is discarded from Colossus, exhaust this card, remove a steel counter, and give Colossus a tough status card. Basically, the first 2 times you lose your tough status card, Organic Steel gets it back. And that is what Colossus is all about. Because in hero mode, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense, 14 hit points. The thwart's a little low. Colossus can have an additional tough status card. You can have 2. And after you change to this form, you give Colossus a tough status card. And again, I praise the card designers of this game all the time for the way in which they make this game feel authentic to the comics. And it's little things like having 4 different places where you can fight in the X-Men mansion, which is amazing, and things like this. Colossus is made, he's got metal skin, or he can have metal skin. How cool is this? I love it. So it's all about tough status cards. So Made of Rage is a 0-cost event. When you make a basic attack, you can discard a tough status card and get +6 attack and overkill. Steel Fist is a 2-cost event. Deal 5 damage to an enemy. You may discard a tough status card to stun and confuse them. Iron Will is a 2-cost upgrade that gives you +1 thwart, bringing it up to the 2 we'd usually like. And after a tough status card is discarded from Colossus, and the way it's worded, that could be because you're using a skill or because you've been attacked, you draw a card. Actually, I should mention while we're here, Colossus only has a hand size of 4 in hero mode, which is very, very low and will hurt, but things like Iron Will help to mitigate that. Bulletproof Protector is a 0-cost event. You discard a tough status card from your hero, and you either ready him, or give yourself 2 tough status cards. So really, it's either discard 1 to ready your hero, or give yourself an extra one. That's kind of cool. Titanium Muscles is a 2-cost upgrade that gives you +1 attack, and you can exhaust it to generate a physical resource for each tough status card on Colossus. So if you've got 2 tough status cards on you, then that means that you can get 2 resources from this 1 card every turn, and these are the things that are mitigating the low hand size. And then Armor Up is a 0-cost event. When the villain activates, change to hero form. But remember, that gives you an extra flip to hero mode, which means that you get an extra tough status card. So if you don't have a tough status card, the villain goes to activate, you play this for 0, switch to hero mode, gain a tough status card, life is good. I am psyched about Colossus. You can either use those tough status cards to ward off attacks or to activate skills. Either way, I am in. Now, surprising literally nobody, Colossus comes out the box as a protection hero, and we've got cards like Perseverance, a 1-cost event. After you change form, give yourself a tough status card, obviously. Powerful Punch, a 2-cost event. When an enemy initiates an attack, deal 4 damage to them. And then we've got Polaris, an ally. 1 thwart, 2 attack, taking 1 consequential damage each. 3 cost, 3 health. And after Polaris enters play, give an X-Men character a tough status card. Does not have to be Colossus, could be any of them. That works. Plus the 2 attack, taking 1 damage is nice. And then you got the basic ally, Professor X. 3 cost, 3 health, 3 thwart, taking 1 consequential damage. That's phenomenal. And then after Professor X enters play, you get to choose to either confuse the villain, stun a minion, or ready an X-Men character. Only downside, at the end of the round, if Professor X is still in play, discard him. So, get one of those good skills, thwart for free, and then use him to defend. This is phenomenal. There had to be a downside. We've then got the 1-cost event Mutant Protectors. Play only if your identity has the X-Men trait. And when an enemy attacks, you put an X-Men ally into play from your hand, exhaust it, and declare it the defender for this attack. So if you've got an ally which you just can't play for whatever reason, or don't want to, for 1 cost you can use it to defend an attack. That sounds good. Although the art here is kind of terrifying, it seems to be implying that Nightcrawler's going to grab random X-Men and throw them in as human shields, which is harsh. And then we got Protective Training, the 1-cost upgrade that you put on an X-Men ally. Now, this is important. You can only have 1 training upgrade per ally, which is big, but it's because it's really good. Your ally gets 3 extra hit points. That's nuts. And the last hero here is Kitty Pryde, or Shadowcat. Although I've never liked Shadowcat as a name. Just Kitty Pryde. That'll do just fine. Free recovery, 9 hit points. You've got a human character here, so the low hit points are expected. And on setup, you put your mass form upgrade into play, solid side face up. And then you've got an action that lets you flip your mass form upgrade. What am I talking about? Well, we've got this mass form upgrade, which is either solid or phased. Solid has a hero resource. You exhaust the card to generate a physical resource for an attack or defense event. And after you attack or defend in solid mass, you flip. Phased, while you are defending, you don't take damage, which is phenomenal. But after you attack or defend in phased mass, you flip. So in order to flip, you have to attack or defend, or you go into alter ego mode, which lets you flip it in that regard. So basically, you're going to be spending the game as Kitty Pryde, trying to navigate between solid and phased forms. How perfect is that for Kitty? Now, in terms of hero mode, you got the standard 2 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense, same low hit points of 9, and hand size of 5, which is standard for hero form. And while you are in phased mass form, Shadowcat ignores the guard and patrol keywords and any crisis icons in play. Now, this is huge. Guard says that you've got to take out minions before you attack the villain. Patrol says you've got to take out minions before you can thwart the main scheme. And crisis icons mean that you have to take out that side scheme before you thwart the main side scheme. So those things that would usually stop you attacking the villain or thwarting the main scheme don't stop you anymore as long as you're in phased form. And again, thematically, this makes perfect sense and I love it. We could then look at the 1-cost upgrade Acute Control. After you ignore the guard or patrol keyword on a minion, you exhaust it to deal 2 damage to that minion, i.e. go after the main scheme or villain even though the minion should be stopping you, then deal 2 damage to them. That's kind of hilarious. Intangible Interference is a 1-cost upgrade. After you ignore the crisis icon on a scheme, you exhaust it to remove 2 threat from that scheme. So not only are you going around these things that should be stopping you, but you are then doing extra damage / removing threat from these 1-cost upgrades. I love them as a pair. Shadowcat Surprise is a 2-cost event that deals 3 damage to an enemy and then readies your hero. That's redonk. Phase Strike is a 3-cost event that deals 6 damage to an enemy, but if you're in phased mass form, you can discard an attachment with the text hero action or hero response from that enemy. So those annoying attachments where you have to pay resources or exhaust yourself or whatever to get rid of them, yeah, you can just get rid of them with Phase Strike. Quick Shift is a 0-cost event when an enemy attacks. If you're in solid mass form, you change to phased. And if you're in phased, you draw 2 cards. Remembering that phase says you can't take damage. So basically, it's a 0-cost event. You defend, and either you go to phase form and don't take damage, or you're already in phase form and you draw 2 cards. As we've seen in Marvel Champions, anytime there are different forms, there will be cards that let you flip between them extra times. Phased and Confused, I adore whoever names this card. 3-cost upgrade, hero form only, attached to an enemy, and when the enemy would attack, you discard this card instead and confuse them. And I love this because you stop them attacking, then you go into alter ego mode, and then they can't scheme because they're confused. It basically makes the enemy take 2 turns off of acting, which is ridiculous. And Kitty comes out of the box as an aggression character. So we've got the ally Magic here. 1 thwart, 2 attack, taking a damage each, 3 cost, 3 health. After you play Magic from your hand, you can spend a science resource, choose a non-elite minion engage with an X-Men hero, and shuffle them into the deck. Obviously, Magic makes portals and can get people, get rid of them. Love it. Again, thematically, the designers here are knocking it out of the park. Attack Training is a 1-cost upgrade that you put on an X-Man ally. Again, it's a training, so you can only have 1 per ally, but you get +1 attack and +2 hit points, which is, again, nuts. Yeah, Wolverine's coming in. 1 thwart, taking a damage. 3 attack, taking 2 damage. Bit harsh. 4 cost, 4 health. And the attacks gain piercing. It's Wolverine, of course they do. But after your turn begins, you heal 1 damage from Wolverine. So it's a pseudo 3 attack taking 1 damage. First you attack, go down to 2 health. go back up to 3, go down to 1, back up to 2, but then you've got to take a turn off because you go from 2 down to 0 and go away. This is fun. You've then got Gatekeeper, a 0 cost upgrade that you put on a minion. It gives them +2 hit points and patrol, but again, Kitty can get around patrol. And when the attached minion is defeated, remove 4 threat from the main scheme. So you pay 0, buff up a minion, get rid of them, remove 4 threat. That could work. And then finally, Team Strike, a 1-cost event that you can only play if your identity has the X-Men trait. Exhaust your hero and any number of X-Men allies, and deal X total damage, where X is a total attack of all the characters you exhausted in this way. If you're looking for one giant attack, this can work. Now, that's what we've got. In terms of a release date, it's coming out in the fall, and we are actually told that Cyclops and Phoenix will be releasing as hero packs on the same day and date. So yes, it's your same big box we always have, that is to say 5 scenarios, 2 heroes, but the brilliant thing here is, if you want more heroes, Cyclops and Phoenix are releasing on the same day. For me personally, I play mainly solo, I've told you this. I'm going to buy it all, and I'm going to sit down and go through the campaign as Colossus, then Kitty, then Cyclops, then Phoenix, and I'm going to sit there having a wonderful, wonderful time. Obviously, Cyclops and Phoenix should be revealed in the not too distant future. I'll be here to show you them when they are revealed. I am very excited about this, ladies and gentlemen. There is lots of cool stuff coming. I think I've told you everything you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me how excited you are. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Weiss. That's where we talk about a whole bunch of card games, including Marvel Champions. And do please consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after your side till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.